the British Bank HSBC. This is to assist in tracing some of the money that left the country through Gupta-linked companies. Among companies allegedly used to launder are the Tequesta, Regiments Asia and Morningside. According to the report, funds were channeled into China laundry networks using HSBC accounts. The Commission has recommended that the financial intelligence sector and MPA also engage their counterparts in China for assistance. It says tracing the flow of state capture proceeds of crime has revealed the existence of widespread sophisticated money laundering networks operating in the country. These funds were derived from various government departments and state-owned enterprises such as Eskom, Transnet, Denel, SAA and SABC, among others. The Commission calculated that a total of over 15 billion rands had been directly or indirectly via money laundering vehicles to the Gupta enterprises being paid. But the report also indicates that the Commission does not purport to try to quantify the total loss suffered by the state because of the Gupta-related state capture. Right, let's discuss this a little bit further. I'm joined now by Mr. Bernard Hotz, who is the head of Business Crimes and Investigations Practice at Werkmans Attorneys. Mr. Hotz, thank you so much for joining us on Point. I suppose that because this report has urged that South African authorities urgently engage with international banks to recoup state funds that were laundered, on average, how long would you say this process normally takes if it does indeed happen?
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me on. First of all, I know it's a cliche when they say the wheels of justice turn slowly. They do turn slowly, but they do most certainly turn. It is possible to do so, and it is entirely lawful to do so. And really what needs to happen is that in terms of the cooperation between banks, both locally and internationally, first of all, legally, banks are obliged when they receive the appropriate documentation, subpoenas, to provide whatever accounts they are called upon to provide. Now, the reason why I say it's a very laborious and time-consuming process is because it's threading a needle. You go to one account, it will then lead you to another account and to another account. And what one should ultimately strive to do is to be able to trace the money right from the beginning through to the end, and along the path you can see precisely what that money has been utilized for and approach those accounts to see where the money went from there onwards. So it is a very laborious task, but it is a highly achievable task, and it requires cooperation, dedication, and lots of hard work and really patience. But ultimately, the records simply don't lie. And if you have the patience to trace it, it will bear its fruits along the way.
Yeah. Mr. Hotz, would you say that South Africa has loopholes perhaps in its place that makes money laundering quite an easy thing to do in South Africa, maybe using state-owned enterprises that were mentioned earlier on when I read that intro? Would you say that there is a case to be made about how easy it is to launder money in this country?
Unfortunately, it is, but we're not unique. Unfortunately, we have a system that's known as alternative payment instruments. Let's not even talk about state-owned entities. Would you believe that it is in fact a business out there to offer an ability to launder money? And I'm aware that our law enforcement are aware of these kind of institutions which operate unlawfully so, and they're known as alternative payment instruments, where their sole focus is to launder ill-gotten gains out of this country. And it has a highly detrimental effect on our fiscus. We are losing billions of rands that law enforcement needs to step up their game, needs to identify where these businesses are operating from and to stop it. And as I say, South Africa is not unique. You have these type of alternative payment instruments operating throughout the world. And one needs to adopt very much of a proactive law enforcement approach to try and combat this as much as possible.
Yeah. Even though this state capture, the commission itself, the sitting and also the subsequent releasing of the report had its delays here and there. We just saw yesterday's delay in the delaying. I'm sure you would agree with me that the fact that we are putting corruption and people that are allegedly involved right at the front and people are now able to read for themselves. It's a first step in making a country quite insulated in future. You know, when one thinks of doing anything that's corrupt, do you think of the next Zondo Commission? Would you say that you agree with me that the fact that, you know, we've started this process is a great step and we can expect it to get better as years goes by?
I say one thing. First of all, I must laud the Commission and the integrity with which Judge Zondo led the process and all of the investigators involved. But in reality, being involved in the type of practice that I and my team are, a word of caution is never ever rest on your laurels, never blink, and never ever believe that we will not encounter this type of behavior again, because unfortunately you have to be forever vigilant to try and make sure that good people stand together all the time, because when you do that, it makes it difficult for evil to triumph.
Mr. Bernard Hotz, thank you so much for your views. Mr. Bernard Hotz is the Director and Head of Business Crimes and Investigation Practice at Werkmans Attorneys, talking about the fact that crime will always be there, but we should always be vigilant as a country and make sure that everything is reported. Going on to this